People are peculiar in that we're aware of ourselves, we're aware of each other, and we long to connect with each other. But we have some unlucky biology. We happen to be separated from each other in these sacks of skin. And so the question is, well, how do you connect? What I think technology is about is overcoming our biological unluckiness.
Only 50 years ago, people were born into a community, had to live with that community. Now, we have the capacity to escape our physical communities by creating alternative kinds of communities in which we can find a sense of belonging.
We're on our way to an unthinkable degree of global interconnectivity. The internet is like the first stage of it that anyone's really noticed and gone, whoa, what are we doing? It's just like we're going somewhere, but nobody's driving.
The most powerful thing about the monastery is simply the canyon and the seasons, and just sort of living those seasons very slowly, just sort of as they come. I suppose what the wilderness does and what the solitude does is there's a transparency to God, and you see God more directly. Community is a group of people who are together, who are called to love each other, from a family, to a group of friends, to a monastery, to a nation. I'm convinced that there's a huge potential of the internet to really deepen human relationships. And, you know, from a spiritual perspective, that's very profound, because anything that helps people connect more can be a conduit of love, an instrument of the Holy Spirit, the fulfillment of community.
There's only 3 of us. Now there's 2. It's really about the community for me when I play. You build a bond. I haven't met any of them up until maybe a couple months ago, really, in person.
Yeah, I've never met you guys until last night. And I know them well enough by character that I could trust them in my house. I could bring them all over, sleep over, and it's all cool.
After school, cyber. During spare, cyber. We hardly even eat. It's like Cheers, basically. Everyone knows your name, right?
Community are the people and systems that you're most comfortable or that you most frequently participate in, and it doesn't have to be tied to a particular place. A couple of groups that I would be sort of involved with, the cypherpunks. We were people that use cryptography to try to further their own ends. A lot of them are politically rather libertarian, anarchist, anarcho-capitalist, crypto-anarchist would be the words that would be used to describe them. And I definitely support that and take part in that.
I think as human beings, we have a need to connect with people, to meet people that share things. We met online probably the end of November, beginning of December, and probably have talked almost every day since then. It was neat because it was like almost feeling like, oh, I'm not like the only person that feels this way.
Community for me is about people knowing who you are and people respecting who you are. And I mean, the online community, there is such a potential to be who you want to be. I'd say the real sort of solid community here was a couple of hundred people. What really attracts me to it is that sense of it being a different world and how people interact with each other in that different world.
He just seemed to be under a little bit too much stress for an 8-year-old last year. After phoning a bunch of private schools and different places like that, I decided that we'd give this a try and see how it went.
The program is called LearnNet, for kids who are getting tired of teachers always punishing them for things they didn't do and just little things.
I'm enjoying it. I think it's set up very well. You know, he can go in there and do some things on the computer that I'm not sure what he's doing.
We sold our home and we're totally dispossessed. Most of my possessions are gone. My wife and I say, where is home? It's such a different world.
When we built the house, you know, everything was wired for whatever we could conceive. Our technology is all web-based. We keep track of lights, switches, people's bed weights. These are all the temperatures in people's rooms. I could go to a website and the screen shows the last known locations for every person who has a badge.
High security co-location is our primary business. Basically, we have the only place in the world where you can put a server that isn't going to have government action taken against it. A lot of it is stock market information and investing information. And I consider privacy to be keeping that information private from everyone, including the government. It's not really that different than if I had a regular job. I commute to work, although my commute is down 3 flights of stairs and not in a car. Instead of a cubicle, I have a 10,000 square foot space where I can work and move around. Yeah, I think it's actually better than a regular office type job. It's just that there's no sushi. The rate of new people coming and like entertainment is very, very low. It's cold. It's wet, it's under the sea, basically, and it's a concrete cylinder, and you hear the waves and wind and everything else outside. I've lived here now for about a year. I had a girlfriend in California who came out once, and visited here for about a month, and she ended up leaving very quickly.
I was married, and things just ended up not working out. It wasn't a really good relationship. Pretty much had lost myself and didn't know who I was anymore, and so it was needing to find myself again. BDSM stands for, the B and D is bondage and discipline, the DNS is dominance and submission, and then S&M is sadism and masochism. We sort of just found it independently of one another. When we're in those roles, he's definitely master, and he calls me his slave or his sub. And I've always been in charge, been called bossy, you know, those kinds of things. And so I think that part of what appeals to me about submitting is giving up that control. Generally, he probably is a more passive person and a more laid-back person in real life than I am. And so I think it's kind of a role reversal that it's good for both of us. It's funny because people approach us and say, well, how do you do this? How are you faithful to one another? With he and I, it's kind of a commitment to walk together and kind of take a journey together and journey side by side.
My friends would say I was a computer guy, but to me that's like calling a painter a brush guy. The computer for me is a tool with which I can create worlds that have never been seen before. The game is ordered towards the people of Egypt completing 7 great monuments of man. And people will have to collectively work to build these great monuments. Whoa! It just changed my appearance totally, and I don't feel like myself anymore. In the net-mediated world, you can even more be deliberately who you want to be. There are things like my problem with my eyesight. I have a poor memory, and you know, I wish I was much more competent in the way I move and stuff. In physical reality, you can go say, oh, well, you know, I was just born like that, so I can't do anything about it. But in the virtual realities, you can do something about it. It's more an exercise in self-understanding for me than anything, of going, oh yeah, I've got that in me too. It gives you, I think, a lot better sense of self in the end.
Remember, just the backspace.
There.
He tends sometimes to maybe not quite get the gist of something, and his organizational skills were a little lacking.
What's the cursor?
That was something that the teachers were harping at him about and was stressing him out quite a bit last year.
Back at that old school, the teachers hated me, so they immediately gave me bad grades.
Okay. You need to make lists of products that are sold in containers measuring less than 1 liter. It's been, I think, really good for Cody. He's learned some things that he might not have learned in regular school, having his mom and dad helping him.
540 milliliters.
And how many milliliters are in a liter?
1,000.
Okay. So we're looking for something between 1 liter and 2 liters.
Hey, you said there wasn't any dip left.
Dad,
one kid asked me, how's homeschooling going? And I said, great, great. It's just, I miss being able to talk to the other kids to pass time.
I started drinking Diet Coke when I was around 14, and now I think I'm up to maybe 4 bottles of 2 liters a day. I don't really have a fixed schedule on a day-to-day basis. I do whatever work needs to be done on that particular day. I work on my laptop for a while, answer email, set up customer things, and then maybe build a couple of machines for customers and deal with some phone calls. At times I've gotten shifted so that I wake up around 6 p.m. or 10 p.m. so that even if there were several people here, I could spend weeks not actually seeing anyone.
He works at night, I sleep at night, because he sleeps in the daytime, because I work at night, so we pass each other. So we call him the ghost, the ghost of Sealand.
I don't really feel particularly alone. Really, I probably have around maybe a couple hundred pretty close friends. And I have a couple hundred pieces of email a day that people expect me to respond to. So it's sort of like being trapped with huge numbers of people despite not having anyone around.
We've talked on the phone, we talk on the computer, and we see each other on webcams, but that's the extent of it. I've never met him. Words are all you have to communicate. You don't have body language to communicate like you do in real life, but I don't think it's a whole lot different. In some ways, in my marriage, we never had the level of emotional commitment that I feel now, and that emotional give and take. Most people, when they talk about collaring, it's like an exclusive type relationship. It's sort of almost a marriage. He brought it up, and he was really excited about it. Neither of us wanted it to look like a wedding ceremony. We both said this is absolutely not how we want it. It took 2 months of email going back and forth, and now it's kind of coming up, and so that's kind of exciting. I either think that either nobody's going to come or everybody, or a ton of people are going to come. So either way, it's going to be kind of nerve-wracking.
I'm meeting a couple of people here up in the mountain market. One of the things we're working on at the moment is research to make fireworks. People will compete to make the most beautiful firework display. If you spend 40 hours a week with people and you become very attached to them and you achieve things together and you fight and you reconcile, That becomes a totally real and emotional engagement. Hi there. Oh. When I'm offline, I'm often thinking about stuff that I'm doing online. But I try and make my interaction with the virtual worlds happen in several different ways. I might be thinking about something and typing about it down in the coffee bar.
What are you doing today?
Oh, well, just wandering around off to the coffee bar as usual, so. And then back to the net.
Right now, back to, where is this? Egypt.
Ancient Egypt, that's it. Okay. I see my life partly as a dance, virtual world and in the real world. But I don't really see them as being that different. The virtual world is just another way of rendering human imagination.
It's almost real life. You know, every bullet counts, headshots, one shot, you know, you're always aiming for crucial body parts.
I'm doing bridge long range.
I'm out of bullets. Who's watching the doors? I need someone watching the doors. Enemy spotted. We need to pick them off. Somebody with a gun, pick them off.
We are probably the biggest clan in Canada. At one point, we had 10,000 members, just constantly chatting away, dropping messages. The constant amount of people at a certain place, at a certain time, all the time, it was insane.
We're more like a brotherhood, a family, instead of an online gaming community.
But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and on his law he meditates day and night. He is like a tree planted by streams of water, that yields its fruit in its season, and its leaf does not wither. In all that he does, he prospers. I've been experimenting with some of the prayer technology. Just this concept that you can extend your presence to a group of people. And you come together at different times during the day to pray together, even though you're not physically in the same place. It's a very international community from all over the world, actually. There's some from India, from Vietnam, from the Philippines, from Canada. And they come together once or twice a day, either at their desktop or their cell phone or their wireless device buzzes, and they're together.
It was neat to see, gosh, we know all these people online. That was kind of exciting. It was crazy. Charles was a basket case. He couldn't get the camera to go, and he was just wigged out. I mean, I was actually on the phone with him and saying, calm down, it's going to be okay, you know, breathe.
Yeah. Okay. All I need to do is starve you for a while and then you...
Sure, that's what you boys said. Starve her, then she'll eat.
My secretary knew that Vera had just lost her husband. I had just lost my wife. So my secretary decided we're going to have to put these two together.
Bye. See you later.
We went through a series of other places, each one worse than the other. Finally, I guess the kids decided that this was going to be the place. Boomba da boomba. We made it, sort of. But because of all this bumping around that we have done, if anything, it has progressed. Her dementia has progressed. At our age, home is a place that you'd like to go back to when things used to be the way they should be.
The promise of technology is that tomorrow is better than yesterday and that humanity is moving forwards. Like any possibility, it has the shadow side. It's tempting us to believe that what is outside ourselves can change us, and that probably seldom has been the case. People are feeling just the same things that they always have, and yet in an environment that doesn't begin to comfort or steady them at all. People, no doubt, will be as lonely and disconnected as they've always been.
Our relationship is changing, I feel. Just the other night, Charles and I had been talking, and I was going to go to bed early, and I said, I'm not going to come on. I'll be on Thursday night. And he took that as his Thursday morning. So he was looking for me Wednesday night. It's just even those simple things. One night we were online, and I had come on late, and he was kind of upset about that. He just kept pushing me about, this isn't right, and that isn't right, and this isn't right. I hadn't set things up right how he wanted to see him on the camera. It was just this whole pervasive feeling that, gosh, he wasn't going to be happy no matter what I did. I was definitely feeling some real heavy-duty emotions. It really struck a chord with me for some things that had happened in my past that just really all of a sudden came rushing back that I hadn't dealt with. Feelings for my marriage, that it didn't matter what I did, things weren't going to work out right.
The internet has sort of changed my perception of people. It would be very easy to put together a group of people that could work together for years without ever meeting each other, and maybe never meeting each other, and it would be just as productive as if they were all in the same room and knew each other. You could replace a lot of people with automated things that just repeat what they've said in the past, and you would never notice. Some people don't really have a very in-depth presence. They just sort of, you say hi and they say hi. You could easily completely automate that and they could disappear forever and you would never notice.
Hey, buddy. Good morning. It's time to get up.
On your top bike.
Come on, sunshine, time to get up.
I hated that school, so that was one of the reasons why I wanted to leave. It wasn't because it was boring, it was because I was freaked out of my stinking pants over here. Nobody listens to me. The only people who listen are my parents, and that's only because they love me.
My biggest fear is seeing the stress come back where he's having panic attacks and cutting his clothes because he just doesn't know what else to do with all the stress that's built up in that day.
I've been called a bastard many times in school. I used to think to myself, gee, do they know?
But if you had actually met your father, he may not be anything like the kind of man you'd want him to be.
What do you do with Ryan's parents?
Nothing at all. Absolutely, I don't think he's got any.
You know, they've made you what you
Just
are. I
arrived.
don't think every
It was put together in a computer factory.
I last saw my parents about, I think 2 years ago or 3 years ago. They're pretty normal, I don't know, middle-class American, boring-ish people that live in Pennsylvania, and it's probably bad to say, but I think I feel much closer to my friends and my parents. It's sort of more an obligation than anything else, and it's perhaps not good, but it's pretty much the way I feel. I would never really have felt particularly close to people like by accident, like people that I happen to live with or happen to have contact with or professional relationship with. It's only people that think the same kind of things that I really feel that close to. I've lived in a lot of different places, and I've lived here about as long as I've lived at any other particular place, so I think now pretty much home is here. All I really care about is having an internet connection in my laptop.
My image more and more of the world in a dangerous way is somebody sitting with his back to the window, accessing the world on a myriad screens arrayed before him, and yet always accessing it at second hand and having less and less contact with the world that is only 9 feet behind him.
I don't know that I've ever felt lonely. I think when you have a strong prayer life, and when you're very close to God, that sense of sort of existential loneliness, you tend not to have. The fear that people have that the technology would break apart these real physical relationships, how we'll have these communities that are completely separated from the physical person, is really not happening. The technology and the internet really haven't affected my personal community of friends and family. The internet isn't going to change people, and it's not going to change what people need in their lives. People are still going to need to be with each other physically. You know, those sorts of basics kinds of human community are still going to exist and still need to be.
Megan. Are you guys up for breakfast?
Up for breakfast, not quite dressed.
Great. Okay, I will start making some cheese on toast.
My net life means that I operate at very weird hours. Like in this town, my lifestyle fits a lot better with 20-somethings in my own age group. Because I like sharing houses with people. I like going out and dancing at 3 in the morning.
It is really weird to think that he's older than my parents, but he is. Yeah, my parents were like, "You live with a 55-year-old," and I was just like, "But he's a lot cooler than a lot of kids, than a lot of like younger people. He's really cool."
Okay, let's get this.
So what exactly are we having for breakfast?
We are having onion bagels with cheese and tomato on toast.
This is the first house that I've ever owned, and I'm pretty happy with the way it's become a homely space. A place where people feel comfortable, where I know people and they know me.
So not on this floor.
It's an exciting life in this house.
$600. No. 610. No.
Well, maybe you should.
611.
Oh, you need to write it down on a piece of paper then. And add it
622.
No, is that the right answer?
Yeah, I guess.
You have to type in your equation so you can explain. What's your
I
number?
didn't change the color.
Oh, that's okay. Well, Cody says that he would like to go back to regular school next year. That's up to him, and we'll let him go back. But like I said before, the option's there. If things aren't working out and the stress levels get too high again, that we know that we can just bring him home again.
Watched the kids play soccer, and then we just came home and vegetated this afternoon. I feel good here. I feel safe here, grounded. When we first started talking, he had talked about maybe coming over for the summer, and then he couldn't find a job and has had a difficult time financially, so that's not something that's in the picture for him, and it's not something that's in the picture for me. The chances of us meeting are pretty slim. We've agreed just to kind of be together and remain friends for as long as we both think we want to be. My real life is very different than what I do online. You know, there's definitely a me, a mom, someone who's out there working, who's out there supporting her family. And then there's the part that you may not see out in the community. You know, 30, 40 years ago, there was more of a sense of community. There were connections. But I think the internet also has given us a way to connect with people that we didn't have before.
I don't think it's possible to lead classical lives in the early 21st century. Something really fundamental changed because of technology, and it's very, very hard to know what was lost.
The most profound change is the ability for me to live to this ripe old age.
Right.
What are we gonna do today?
The pill lady.
You want to take your Tylenol for me? Here.
Tylenol. Where's Tylenol?
It's in your little cup.
Pain pill.
I'll give you these.
Okay. These are supposed to come in now.
You're supposed to pop them in right now.
There
you go. I'll take that. Give you that. You gonna finish that?
That's better.
Okay. All right. I'll see you guys at dinner. Okay?
She's in a lot of pain, and she need not be. What I'm looking for is the good that stem cells can do. Anti-Parkinson's, anti-Alzheimer's. They could arrest the advance of her Alzheimer's. It's the only way I can think of slowing it down. I don't want to go back to the times of Methuselah where you lived 900 years. But what I'd love to is be able to live our life in a pleasant manner. The internet is, it's no more than whatever people make of it. It has no soul. It's neither good nor bad. It's whatever you make it. So it's a tool. Like a monkey wrench, for me, is a tool. Yeah. Oh, my goodness.
When did you come up?
I just did. They had me computerized. And now I can rest. Hey. Beautiful. And reach out and touch someone.
Me.
Me.
Beep.